it's wonderful to meet you here on Zoom, and congratulations on your recent Supernova acclaim. We'll get to all of that in a moment, but would you please formally introduce and say a few things about yourself for our viewers?
Hi everyone. So my name is Sine Ozblige, and I normally work with my partner and sister Inge Ozblige. She's my co-directress. She also co-directed #21XOXO. We are an animation directors duo that is now building our professional career, and we reside in Belgium.
Reside in Belgium, yes. Are you from Belgium then originally?
No, so our parents are Turkish, and we lived for a while in Istanbul, which is the gateway to the Middle East. It's between Europe and the Middle East.
Sure.
But we have a family that has been traveling a lot, a very nomad family. So we grew up in Vienna, in Austria. We lived in Spain. I studied a while in Italy. It's really, I wouldn't know what to say. Maybe we can say that we are European.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's I can tell you're European by looking at your work, because it has so much what I would call European flair, which you know, we do include a lot of well, we include works from all over the world. So it was such a nice discovery to have #21XOXO show up in our Film Freeway submission portal, and it does seem as if the film has been quite a success for you. I see that it's been part of numerous overseas festivals, which is not really a big surprise for me. But is Supernova the first opportunity for it to be shown within a American context?
There was a screening planned at Photofocus in Cincinnati. But that was later cancelled because of the Corona situation. It was also more of an art space, art screening than a festival.
Oh,
so
okay.
in the US, you are, I think, having the premiere right now.
Well, that's good. That's good. We love that. I think it was a grand premiere, other than, you know, we had to face the same circumstances as a lot of festivals. Except our context is very unique. And I haven't sent you any, I only have like a few brief clips of the footage in the live setting. That's normally our focus. But this year we had to really craft things in a much different way. But so your experience with, I guess, other world festivals with this film, are there any that really stand out to you up to this point?
Well, I was very happy to be at the Encounters Festival. It's one of, I think it's one of Europe's best festivals. And Kieran Argo, he's the programmer. He really chooses the programs in a way that it's intellectually and conceptually very strong and very feeding. We are really lucky to be this year also with our next movie, with Mosaic from Imge in the selection. So that was one of my favorite festival moments. It was pre-corona. I could go there, I could really watch things, I could talk to people. It was really warm. Other than that, I'm very happy about the BFI selection, of course.
Yeah.
That's also quite high level. And we also have Ars Electronica, which happened recently, which was a dream come true in a way.
Ars Electronica, yeah, that's one that I've sort of kept an eye on from afar for years, and I think that the experience overseas is probably very different from what it's like here, but I really don't know. So tell me a little bit more about Encounters, because I'm not familiar with them. Where is that located or hosted out of?
It's in Bristol. And it's a festival that is mixed of live action and animation. There are two teams that coordinate it. The festival itself is Oscar qualifying, but Sava, I don't know, there are like a lot of different kind of festivals. For me, it's just the importance of the content and the message that films give. And sometimes you can go to Annecy, which is like the mega hub in Europe. and the quality of the films will be maybe even less than when you go to encounters on a conceptual level. I think also like the whole selections that we have, where I'm proud of, which Supernova is a part of, is that there is some kind of art background in it. Like you say, you have your own gallery and you are involved in the conceptual arts. I think this really gives the festivals a total different approach and really a second quality layer. That was the case with encounters as well.
Oh, okay, terrific. I'm going to have to look them up because I always love discovering, what's happening out there. And of course, my last 6 months, I've been focused solely with tunnel vision on Supernova. So I'm hoping in the next few months to get a little opportunity to divert from that. So I do love your background. It looks like you have a blossoming career in the arts and in creative work, but some of looking at your website reminds me a bit of my own past. You have diverse design projects sprinkled in and intersections with contemporary art. So how long have you been at this career?
So let's say our mother is a painter. Mm-hmm. So it started when we were very young.
Right, yeah, yes. Professionally, so maybe you've been making award-winning films since an early age.
No, we are not that geniuses, but well, anyway, professionally, I did my bachelor in actually graphic design, and I think you see that's quite a lot in the movie too.
Sure.
After that, for a while I worked in Italy among like big design figures of the Italian design movements. Then I decided to go and do a master's in animation here at the CASC, which is one of it's Belgium's best animation school, I have to say. And both me and Imge, we graduated from there, and since a couple of years we are really diving into the short film world. So far, I had my graduation film, of which I am quite proud as well, but I of course didn't have a distributor and I was a silly student back then, so I didn't go anywhere.
Which film was that? Is that Three Ring Circus or is it a different one?
Yes, it's the Three Ring Circus. That was my graduation film, which was shown in Belgium at the Beaux-Arts, for instance, which is a good art space. But I really had no idea about how to tackle things. And in art school, now they are starting to a bit teach people what the next steps are once you have that paper in your hands and you have your movie and you're graduated. But to make it short, this was the first professional movie I made, and now the second one that I co-directed is coming out with Imge. It's now at the Encounters and it will travel to Filmfest Ghent. And we are now working on the third one, basically. That's as far as we got.
Well, that sounds like a lot. It sounds like you're doing incredibly well. And with your shift in focus to animation, obviously that's a big choice to make. And having your graduation film, I guess, lead to getting a distributor or getting funding for #21XOXO. Explain maybe the process from going from being a graduate into this current phase.
So in Belgium, there is a very wonderful art funding system, which I have to say is slowly degrading due to political situations that we have here, but it's still there. And in my opinion, together with France, maybe also Germany is good in it, it's a very good funding system for young people. For instance, here there are ateliers, like workshops that you can apply to, where you actually, if you are selected with a project and you have to be a newly graduate, you get a couple of thousands of euros for half a year to really focus on your artwork. I was lucky enough to get this after my graduation, and that's when #21XOXO started. I then found a producer, Annemie de Vries from Lunanim, and that was also, I think everything in my career was a little bit like the stars aligned, because I went to her and I said, I have this project, like this really young person who just came out of school, and she said, let's do it. So it's really, I don't know, it
That's
just
it?
worked out.
That easy? Well, well, having not seen Three Ring Circus, but as I watched the preview, I can definitely see some of the seeds from there that go into hashtag 21 XOXO. And I think usually a curator or maybe a producer also sees the promise of something brighter. But
Of course, yes. Well, the graduation movie played a big part in the whole selection for the atelier because there are some networking events where I went to, and normally I also applied to animate on projects to have an internship. But then they told me, no, you cannot animate, you should be a director. So they already pushed me in that direction.
Well, that's good because animation takes a lot of time. Directing is fun. Well, but it sounds like that's interesting that they would say you cannot animate because you can animate, right? And you did put a lot of.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, for my movie, I animated half of it. And the other half was animated by 3 extras, friends actually, that I had, that I involved into the project. But there is also like a real it's a profession in itself to animate. The technique that we use is rotoscopy, where you have already live action people, and it's a bit easier. But like real high level senior animators who work on traditional 2D will be like animating the most crazy changes of movement and like abstract things. Like the cartoons, like the classic cartoons, if you watch them, there's so much expression in there. That's something I personally can't do. And
Yeah.
maybe we also don't have to do everything and just trust to work with people who are amazing in what they do.
Sure. Well, that's an interesting aspect that I'd love to hear more about. So, you're assembling a crew. We can talk a little bit about your sister too later, but as you're putting a team together, are you looking for things that obviously they're going to add, or are you saying, well, this person can do this, and I'm going to really scrutinize what they're doing and try to massage it into what my vision is? Or is it more like, oh, these other people are adding something that I am only seeing for the first time, and understanding that that's a wonderful direction? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think this is something where every director is different. Some directors will want to like mold their team into what they really want. In my and my sister's case, it was more like looking for talents who would really give a second quality to the movie. For instance, thanks to the funding, I could work with a really amazing sound designer, Thomas Vertongen.
Mm-hmm.
And we met, and I just showed him images, and he instantly knew what I was doing. He connected to my brain somehow. I don't know how, but the sound design he made, really, it's an artistry in itself. And that's something I cannot do myself, because I think and I work visually, and he thinks with music and sound. And then talking about music, the music was also composed specifically by Remco Weems, who is also my husband.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I work a lot with close people, and he really took like all these social media sounds to compose some MTV-esque specific soundtrack for the XOXO world. So yeah, it's very important to let the people do their job and give their own artistic input into the movie.
Sure. And now that you've finished, this project was finished a while ago. It sounds like you have a new work under wraps as well, and ready to launch. Do you carry that same team forward, and how does that function in terms of your funding, your overall vision, and where you probably are trying to push some boundaries, I assume?
Well, this is something very new to me, so
Hmm.
I still don't know. The next project will be, it will be a short but also a game. So it will be something completely different, and I don't know yet how a game will be. Actually, when I received the award news, the first email that you sent, I was sitting in a Unity course. I enrolled again in evening courses at the university, and
Oh.
I looked at my phone and I was like, oh my God. And I know you guys also work with games and Unity, so it was really like this sign that I'm doing the right thing.
Wow. Well, that's fabulous to know. Yeah, uh, gaming has obviously influenced things within the realm of digital animation in so many ways, and it's something that I picked up on years ago. I personally don't have any interest in gaming myself, but I'm very attuned to, visual aesthetics and how the whole shift in people's perceptions of what they're watching, whether it's playing a game or just simply enjoying watching a game, develop or roll forward. So the relationship with Unity really was something that kind of emerged, saying, we should draw that connection a little bit deeper because we've had so many works in past festivals that I think dovetail with a gaming aesthetic or gaming concepts. And so yeah, the Unity workshops, we have our last one tomorrow night, and for me it's really been a thrill because it's such a complex software and what you can do with it is extraordinary. So you're immersed in a in classwork with that. In what how would you describe that, what you're doing with Unity right now? Is it something that they have established through their network, or is it through a school? What's your involvement with that?
Well, now I just involved into university courses, evening courses,
Okay.
because during the day I work full time. And I really think every time you make something, you have to really understand how it works to be able to put the visuals, the concept, and everything together. You also have to have a technical know-how.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you don't know how the project will turn out. You cannot communicate to other people. So I'm also just a beginner. I'm learning. You will see. I mean, hashtag 21XOXO took like 3 years.
Three.
Yeah,
Oh.
from the first very idea until the finishing of the film, it took 3 years. So let's say I will answer more in a couple of years.
Wow. Well, yeah. It's so fascinating to me how artists get any work done, and you got funding for this piece, but it took you 3 years. So obviously, you're doing a lot of other things to support yourself, I would imagine, at the same time.
Indeed, I work as a motion graphic designer and a commercial agency. And because the thing with funding also is, it seems really wonderful, which it also is, because it gives you like things that you as a person might not have, like a physical studio with all the workstations for the whole team. You can really pay people to work on it. There is a lot of plus. But at the same time, the process to actually get the funding, have the bureaucratics around it fixed, have the contracts, it takes a lot of time. And production houses usually, they have like a whole list of projects that have to be realized. If they have too much, then you have to wait until they first finish those, and then you can go into production.
Mm.
This is not necessarily artistically something that's driving you a lot, because it's, if it takes so long, you might really lose the that boost that comes when you create something. And also, if you only try to be a filmmaker, you will probably starve.
Yeah.
That's really the reality.
That is a reality. It's a reality in the arts in general, is that a few people might get past that hurdle, but not too many do. And so it really has to be a labor of love to want to do the work and to find ways to get it done. So, I know that we touched on this a little bit in our email dialogue last week, but within the context of Supernova, historically, well, we've been experimenting within this medium for almost 10 years now. And I've always said, what drew me into this project was how technology allows individual artists to create works that unleash the imagination. And it's almost profound to think that they could be made by one person without funding, or how much time would it take to make. So thinking about this idea of a 3-year process to make a film, and you never really know maybe what the results are going to be, or whether there's stability within that. It seems like such a very different approach to what I'm used to. And I would look at where Supernova is and say we have seen a lot more works both this year and a little bit last year, where there's productions, obviously like higher level productions attached. So that is a system that I'm fascinated by, because I don't know how that functions for the artist. But from your experience, you're now into another film, Mosaic, and was that through the same funding, through the same production house? I think, is it Lunanim that?
Yes, Lunanim is our production house. Okay, I will explain a bit the basics about the funding system here. Each country, like for instance France, has funds. Some of these funds are regional. So if you want those funds, you have to be from those regions. Or there is like overall governmental funds. The funds that we have received are from the Flemish film funds, basically. And then, because in Belgium there is a whole big divide between the Flemish and the French part, there are also funds in the French part, etc. The way it works here is you have to have a producer, you have to have a legal company that applies to these funds. With these funds, there is also a system called tax shelter.
Tax shelter. They're very direct with that term. Well, I always say, give us your money because it's tax deductible. But tax shelter sort of says, yes, you can put your money into this, and nobody, like the government, doesn't get it. I don't know. Explain that to me, though.
Yeah, indeed. It's a bit of a fancy word to try to convince companies. The thing is, in Belgium is one of the countries where you have the highest and most dramatic tax regulations. People are paying as much as they are earning to taxes, basically. And companies have to do that too. But there is a choice where you can actually, instead of paying the taxes, invest into cultural projects, because then you get a little bit of a reduction. And you have the chance, if the project, let's say it's a feature film, it makes a lot of money in box offices, then those tax shelter investors can also get some part of the profit. It's a huge system. Of course, so when you do shorts, there is no, basically not really a lot of profit, because they have to be sent everywhere. And here I think I should talk about Miu, because Miu is really one of the best things that happened to my career.
Sure.
They are distributing the film and really making sure that it's going to the right places where this kind of film has to go. So they really they don't have just one way of doing things. They look at the artist, they look at the movie, and then they decide what platforms are the best for this artist and this work. This is not something usual for short film distributions. I have not seen this before. There is usually companies who already have certain connections, and then they send it there, but they don't specifically look for you further. And Miu does that. How the financials work there is they send it to festivals. Sometimes they have to pay a lot, and they also get free waivers from festivals. And the screening fees also goes to the distribution house so that they can actually exist. This is the way it works. Do you have other specific questions about the distribution of films or like the production? Is it
just comments? It's interesting to me the whole tax shelter idea. You know, I like the fact that if people are being told that they're going to be taxed no matter what at a high level, and they might have the option of saying, well, I would prefer, if my funds are going anyway, that they can go towards arts and culture production, and that maybe there's a return. And I know, looking at the language on their website, there's a lot of disclaimers of don't expect, you know, to be making money from this, but it's still more of a lovely system where, you know, people might understand that provides such value for the society and for artists, and you know, we have something somewhat similar here, but it just functions in a totally different way. And I think that a lot of artists find that you know, to get into that network can be a challenge, or there's just, you know, different stipulations that come along with it. So it's nice that you do have that, and it was interesting for me to review the site. And then Miu, I'm just really thrilled. This was the first year that they did submit to Supernova, and I recognized that as, you know, a good statement for our festival, because I'm aware of the quality of their work, and it is at the highest level. So being a former contemporary art dealer, there's always this question of, you know, what's the value of the person who's trying to present the image, not just of one artist, but of a stable of artists in a program. And so I connect very well with what Miu is doing, and I'm frankly just amazed at you know, like what they are projecting to the world, and not really understanding whether it's a labor of love for them or whether it's a full-scale thing that, you know, is in process, because it's with short medium. I think it is very challenging. So that's really nice for you to recognize them.
And I think they started out of passion, really, because as a startup you also don't make that much, and just slowly they are really growing and being established, especially because this summer they were selected. They also started their own production, and their productions were selected to festivals like Venice and Cannes. So they are really, well, the head of Miu is Luce Grosjean. I hope I pronounce her name right. I never know because it's French. But she really is a person who has good tastes and like this feeling for art, and that's how she started the whole company. It's not easy to get into their distribution, so I was kind of lucky that they accepted my work.
What was that process like when you finished hashtag 21 XOXO? Was that something that you then put in front of them, or did they discover it through their network of keeping their eyes on, you know, certain studios?
That's something that went via, because I have a friend, Nienke Duits. She is not this year but last year's Crystal winner at Annecy. A Dutch and very talented directress. She was working with Miu, so she's also from Lunanim. So there was already a bond with Miu, and then they watched the movie and eventually decided to have it. But for me, the production was really crazy. It was the first time I did something like this. You work for a whole year really hard. At the end, we had some issues with should the ending be live action, and it took me a bit time to convince people about this.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah.
like, to me, that was such a blissful moment.
Thank you so much. Well, it's but arts are really objective. No, yeah,
Subjective. What?
objective. Yes, I was confused things. Yeah, so if someone can really like it and someone can really dislike something, so it's great to hear from a person like you, a curator like you, that you really liked it. So thank you very much.
Oh, sure. Well, years ago when we first started Supernova, I always had to stipulate that our festival is about digital animation, and trying to set some parameters I think is really important when it comes to elevating something that's a burgeoning niche. And you don't want to be flooded with works that don't really relate, and trying to craft that message for me has been not quite the challenge that I thought it was, but something that has to be done just right. And 5 years in, I think that we have achieved this objective of making sure that those artists that are looking at our festival know what it's about. And the whole merger of anything live within digital, I love it so much because my background is in film, and I go, well, if you do it in the right way, it's so smart and exciting. And it is interesting to hear you talk about that as maybe some curveball that you had to get over. And I noticed in your graduation film too, it's the same actress that was in both. So tell me a little bit about her and her involvement. What's her relationship to this?
She's called Indra de Bruin, and she's one of my first falling in love moments with an actress. Back then, I was creating this world during my graduation, and then I went to a vernissage, to an opening, and there was this girl standing there, and she has this really, really unique face. So I couldn't keep myself from going to her and saying, "Are you an actress? Are you acting?" And
Really?
it
Like she spoke act? You just assumed that she might be an actress?
Well, it was all from the same school. There is a drama department, so there was a chance that she would actually be an actress, and it turned out she was in the drama department studying theater and acting. So that was the first collaboration we did. I just really fell in love with her face and the way she acts. She's very unique. There is this beauty is something very interesting. I find always different proportions and specific things in faces very attractive, and she's very original. Everything about her has this really, yeah, it's difficult to explain. But after doing the
Not to
graduation,
me, I get it. I totally, yeah.
so after the graduation film, I also thought I'm so grateful that she did that with me, and I wanted to make another project with her. And I think she will come back in some of the projects somewhere as a side character. It's a bit like I think Tarantino has like the red apple cigarettes that keep coming back.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I think Indra will come back somehow in the things that I do. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, that's a wonderful tradition in some of the best directors' works across time. So I love that you're thinking that way. Tell me a little bit about Mosaic, since it has not debuted yet, or when will that be shown initially?
So now actually it's happening right now at the Encounters Film Festival. That's the premiere that we are having this year. Mosaic is, well, so XOXO's world was from me, but the feedback and the structure and everything, that was something that we did together with my sister. And for Mosaic, I have to say, it's really Imge's world, and I was involved in the production and helping her and giving her feedback. It's also really important to have someone with whom you can ping pong a bit, because by yourself over such a long time, it starts to really be heavy on your shoulders. And Imge is specialized in Middle Eastern mythologies, and she has a very hand-drawn watercolor style. The movie is about a city in the Middle East where war breaks out, and 3 characters from 3 different backgrounds escape this war. It's really beautiful. If you like, we can send you a link to watch it, of course.
Sure, yeah. When I first came across your work, I did a little bit of research, and I think I remember just seeing that her aesthetic it fit into a different position than yours. But I was really thrilled that there's 2 sisters doing wonderful animation work, and so that I would love to see that. And tell me a little bit more about your sister dynamic. How many years separate you, and what would you say makes it the most special having this family collaboration?
Well, there's not that much age difference. She's older, 2.5 years than me.
Okay.
And well, normally we were living in different countries. She was in the Netherlands doing her first master. I was in Italy, and we had been apart for, I think, a couple of years, 5 years. And eventually she said, "What are we doing? Where are you?" She told me about this really great school in Belgium to do a master's, and I came here. And Belgium and the Netherlands, they're neighbor countries. It's quite easy to see each other.
Sure.
Eventually, she had to leave the Netherlands because, we have Middle Eastern passports, so we had a lot of issues with the visas. And she came to Belgium. This was somehow what the universe did. Eventually, we both decided to work together. I mean, we were always co-directing each other's work, and now, because you also say we have so different styles, we are actually really looking forward to merge these styles. And I think this will give like a visual world that none of us can do by ourselves, and it will be like it's very exciting. I think it will be a new level. So yeah, I'm lucky to have a sister like that.
That's terrific. Well, you'll have to give her my regards, because it's such a wonderful story, and even being able to have this discussion here just opens up all kinds of angles from my standpoint of looking at your career, and I'll be really appreciative to see it blossom, as I'm sure it will. But on that note, I want to ask, we're currently experiencing what I would consider the most cataclysmic times here in the United States. It's besides the pandemic, it just feels like everything is falling apart. So what's the experience like for you right now in Europe within the context of the pandemic, and how people are viewing just the instability of the world, traditions, things like that?
It's not very nice. I don't know, when the first lockdowns happened, the only really nice thing was there were no cars, and really animals came back. The air was clean. So that was a huge shocker of how only 1 month of a lockdown can bring the world back, like the nature back. It was amazing and really sad at the same time.
Yes.
On the other hand, this whole situation around Corona, it is giving, unfortunately, it is really giving some kind of feeds to right-wing politics. There is, like in Belgium, we had really strange things, strange regulations that were related to color, related to ethnicity, like things that you would not expect. Then I went to Italy during the summer. I was lucky enough to go because the borders were open to visit my mother. She lives there.
Personally.
And there I was I like to talk to people just to see how things are, how people are living. And we were talking with a restaurant owner, a very nice man, and eventually he started to talk about how Italy is giving everything to the African people, how they are having parties on cruise ships, which is, I mean, those people have to be quarantined and have a horrible situation there. And this man really believed that they're having money and doing like parties. Um, so it's really sad to see how it's being perceived. I understand in a way that when, you know, when life is scary, something has to be blamed to yeah, to deal with it, but this is not the way.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to here. It's the way I perceive of it is as an intelligent, thoughtful person, how could anybody actually think the way these other people are thinking? And you know, like what to what degree can people really hold that view? And when you get right down to it, you realize it's a lot of people. And that's really sad and makes you think about history from a standpoint of that issue has always been with us. And as we progress forward, you know, I have a lot of feelings about technology, how wonderful it is in regards to creativity and art, but then how horrifying it is when it comes to creating issues that we're dealing with right now and we may never get past, and that's a really scary thing. So yeah, uh, my heart goes out to everybody that's out there, and you know, having Supernova occur in this year, we've had so many wonderful accolades from the artists, just really positive feelings, and at the same time you go, wow, the world really is on fire. It's nuts. And where do you go from here under that premise? It's really pretty challenging. But you know, it's also wonderful just to have the inspiration from artists such as yourself, and know that there's lots out there, and there always have been over time to try to offer something better to the world and to life.
Yes, but also, I mean, what you are doing is so valuable, Ivar. All the arts, putting everything out, and helping people really have culture in their lives. This is one of the most important things, because if you also think about the lockdown, no one was able to do anything. They consumed movies, they read books, they listened to music. It was art that saved people from insanity. I think it's so valuable and so important. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know, I always say if I didn't have that, I don't know what I could do. And it's almost the way I when I think of a lot of pure artists, the ones that I've worked with in the past, and you know, a lot of people have this judgment on artists that it's really a luxury that they get to do this, and you know, like, why don't they just get another job? And you go, no, the real artists, that's what they're there for. And it's a magical thing when you get to experience it. And to me, it's such a motivating factor. And what I found within Supernova is we've just made connections to what I consider some of the most wonderful people that I have ever experienced in my life. And that is something that undeniably keeps it going, and keeps us wanting to make it happen. So, and now you are part of that, and I have to just say it's really wonderful, and I thank you for doing this interview, Sine. It's really a delight.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for everything and for the award. It's
Yeah.
really so amazing. I can't express in words how happy I'm about it.
Oh, well, you don't need to. Just seeing your face and the joy is what really makes it for me. And you deserve it. And I can't wait to see Mosaic, and also what you do from here. So, well, I will definitely follow up with you at some point in regards to the award, and getting everything settled with that. I normally last week was like insane trying to prepare for our awards ceremony. We've never done that before. And it was so much work. I was like, I just need a break. but time is freeing up now, which is really good. And we're moving into that period where I just have like the energy. I have to figure out how to keep that energy going. So.
Well, you will need a vacation probably first.
There's nowhere to go.
How is it now? Are you allowed to travel in the same region?
Yeah. No, it's pretty. It's radical here in the United States. I mean, every state is different. There's places that I certainly wouldn't go. Colorado, where I'm at, we happen to be very much an outdoor community, so there's plenty, to do. It's what I miss the most are the cultural opportunities, and it's really sad to like see how much has been just taken away. I mean, everybody's still trying to offer things to experience, but it feels like it could be on its last legs. You really don't know. And with winter coming up, it certainly seems like we could all be in for another rude awakening. But if I were to, take a trip at all, I'd probably go to Aspen. Is really close to Denver, and it is like a really amazing mountain town with a great museum, and that's usually my respite for the year. Other than, I'll probably start playing tennis this week. So
Okay.
that's my enjoyment. Yeah, so yeah, I'll update you on everything from here, and just great congratulations and good luck with everything moving forward. And I'll be following up with Luce. I don't know how to pronounce anybody's name. But, the same. It was when they first.
It was Luce, but I might pronounce it wrong too.
Loose, yeah. I mean, it looks pretty. It looks pretty straightforward, but it was really nice to. I don't want to say that we had to convince them to let the works into the festival, but I didn't know like what their process was like, because we'd had some. I think 2 years ago we showed a work that they were representing, and I didn't know much about them. But last year we had another work of theirs in our Overdrive program, and I really like the idea of establishing that connection and seeing where that's going to go. I really feel like that they're doing something that I admire so much, and want to keep that relationship going. So
yes, you should definitely give them a video call.
Yeah,
you will have time.
Yeah, well, I asked them if they would do an interview early on, and the response was, well, I can't remember if it was like, is there some stipend for doing that? And I'm like, I would absolutely have that, but this year we just like everything is bootstrapping it, and doing our interviews has been the most extraordinary part of the festival this year. Just one of a few things that I think have really tipped things into a level of enjoyment for the festival that wasn't there previously, and we want to continue, which is why I wanted to have this interview. We'll continue doing those, I think, through the course of time, because I think there's a real need for that.
Yeah, well, with the whole Corona festival formats, I find it that people are more supporting each other in a way. Even though it's contradictory, still there's like more involvement, and like people, like artists trying to support, festivals trying to support. This is a positive thing, I have the feeling. But if you look at the distribution houses, Ivar, they lost a lot of how do you call it, revenue, I think, because normally they make their living through screenings, and once everything went online, there were no more screening fees anymore. Yeah. So for them to keep their business alive and to even keep themselves alive, it was a huge challenge. And there is also, I think, online, if you look, you will find a talk from Luce explaining how the formats have changed, how the distribution is different. But I really hope that this will not take so long, because also in Belgium, even though like restaurants and other things are opening up, it's the cultural sector that's being closed still.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense, because people are flying in airplanes, but they cannot go to a cinema. It's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Where it's such a complicated thing, and we see it in so many different ways here. Even our live forum, where we were situated with our main live screen, that used to be a really happening zone. Right now it's completely dead, and I was like, wow, you would never have imagined that. It's like a complete reversal from years previous, and you go, what is it going to be down the road? The museums here are open and you can experience it. And it's actually quite nice too, because there's not a ton of people inside. So if you go, it feels really wonderful to absorb the artwork in the way that I like to do it. But at the same time, you go, that's just not sustainable, So yeah, we hope that it's all going to come to an end soon, but there's no way to really predict and see it. And I do think that artists in your medium, it's perhaps a wonderful time to really be getting more attention and being able to produce works that can be done in a different fashion than live action and whatnot. So
yeah, it's okay for digital working people. It's still okay.
Yeah, everybody's resilient. I hope. I think. Well, all right. It's been wonderful. I will be in touch with you, and thanks so much for doing this, Sine. It's a real pleasure, and congratulations again.
Thank you as well, and have a wonderful day.